I'd compare Dottore to Frankenstein, but I feel like Dottore is a lot more of a mad scientist and crazy than Dr. Frankenstein was. Hello, everybody. It is I, your INFP gamer guy from the 1MBTI channel, and yeah, we're looking last character. We're looking at Dottore. Or El Dottore. We know he is a crazy mad scientist lunatic from the manga or manhwa, that the Genshin Impact manga that was released. We know that he is a bit, but also highly intelligent. So basically, think mad scientist vibes is what everybody is getting from Dottore. Even with like the vial that he has in there, which what the heck is that? But more importantly, Il Dottore and Pantalone are the comic foil of each other. Pantalone being the decadent wealthy merchant, and Il Dottore being the decadent erudite. He has been part of the main canon of characters since the mid 16th century. He is comedically inept. He's usually extremely rich, though the needs of the scenario might have things otherwise, and extremely pompous, loving the sound of his own voice and spouting ersatz Latin and Greek. Il Dottore is known to be overly self-loving and greedy. His interactions in the play is usually mostly with Pantalone, either as a friend, mentor, or competitor. So Pantalone probably sponsors Il Dottore's work. That's probably what's going on here. And probably some weird machinations are going to go on. Yeah, so Il Dottore can be found in many common characters such as Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory and Dr. Zoidberg from Futurama. Are characteristics of Il Dottore. Il Dottore is a representative of the learned intellectual class, which makes sense as to why he's in Sumeru, and is meant to playfully parody the educated elite, which is probably why he's screwing over the people of Sumeru. He's toying with them. He is using their wisdom against them. That's my guess. My guess is that he is using their wisdom against them because he's supposed to parody them and be a kind of foil to them. So he is using their wisdom against them. Attended a university and pretends to be an expert in many subjects, talking constantly but usually having no idea of that which he speaks. Depending on the portrayal, however, he can actually be very educated, likely the case of Genshin, and bore the other players into leaving the stage. The preferred crowd favorite, however, is a Dottore who speaks nonsense. Il Dottore walks with chest up, knee bands, and bouncy movement, taking small steps. The Dottore's professional affiliation was imprecise. He was at times a legal scholar, ready with advice for any occasion, who bungled and inept courtroom arguments were the basis of comic dialogues. At other times, he was a physician armed with a huge syringe and a roster of preposterous cures for any ailment, probably going to be a bit of a snake oil salesman, or explains why he is like a mad scientist. You could also, if you read the manga, if you read everything else, most of his experiments usually end up failing. Maybe he was kicked out of the Sumeru University and is now using their wisdom against them, or is trying to use their wisdom against them. And usually, probably he's also going to be very smart. He's probably going to be a highly intelligent character who has experiments on the go, but he's going to have a bit of a snake oilness to him, snake oil salesmanness to him. He is, what we're going to deal with is likely going to be a mad scientist whose experiments either hilariously fail or are absolutely horrific or are just absolutely blasphemous in some way, shape, or form. And we're basically going to be dealing with a guy who thinks he knows more than he actually does, and that is his delusion, that he actually knows more than is claimed. Probably also going to be a catalyst user. Some of his experiments have succeeded. He is probably going to be a highly intelligent character, but this is a person who should be theoretically easy to thwart to some degree, and also not easy to thwart to some degree because of his clones and whatnot. So we're going to be dealing with a mad scientist type character who is full of himself and thinks of his intelligence highly, while also failing at a lot of the things that he does. Which he finds okay, because in his failures he will find out what succeeds, which is probably what he's aiming for. And so where the school would not give him the funding, the harbingers did, and he ends up joining them. And we are going to be dealing with a person who is, my guess is Dottore is probably going to be the most insane out of all of them. Based on what I've read, Dottore is probably going to be the most insane out of all of them. You guys can let me know what you think, but this has been a rather long look at the harbingers, starting from Piero to Colombina to Pulcinella to Sandrone to the El Capitano. Tartaglia we're not looking at because we don't need to. We already know what he's like in game. To Arlecchino, to Pantalone, to Dottore. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting to see if any of my speculations here come to pass. The ones we need to look out for are probably going to be Colombina, Arlecchino. Dottore will find out very quickly because we're going into Sumeru. And then after that, I think... So, honestly, the two main ones to look out for are going to be Colombina and Arlecchino. After that, we're going to have to look out for probably the Marionette or Sandrone and Pantalone. And then after that, probably Il Capitano, before then Pulcinella and Piero. Dottore is coming up first. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much of my conclusions fit the characters when they come out. All of this is mostly theory crafting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And do please consider subscribing if you want to see more of my lore theories and takes. Some of which are not going to be as long as this one. And if you made it to this part of the video, we are going to be looking at why the Nutcracker and Genshin Impact are related, or how they're related to each other, and why that matters for Snezhnaya next time for a lore video. Until then, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.